Regal Movie Masters. Unlimited.
This is the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited podcast. We indiscriminately watch every goddamn movie that comes out at the local theater. The Movie Masters today are Justine.
Hi.
Brent.
Hey, kids!
Dylan.
What's up?
And I'm your old pal, Kevin Smith. No, I'm not Kevin Smith. I'm Colin. Today on the docket, we got The Flash, The Blackening, and Elemental. I keep really half-assing, pardon my French, this whole spoilers thing, but I should assume all these movies you're going to hear going to have massive spoilers. We're talking about the whole thing, guts and all. You can email us at moviemasters760 at gmail.com. That's moviemasters, plural, 760 at gmail.com. The Flash is the grand finale to the DCEU before it is reset and James Gunn's vision takes over. Those words should not make any sense to you if you are a sensible human being, but if you are have been invested in this stuff for a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The movie is directed by Andy Muschietti. He did the It movies.
It?
Oh, the
Yeah.
new ones?
Yeah, the clowns.
The new ones?
Yeah. One with the clown, I've heard. It is written by Christina Hodson. You know what she wrote? She wrote Bumblebee, which we just discussed peripherally last week in relation to the Transformers Rise of Beasts. And she did Birds of Prey. Dylan, what's the full title?
The Emancipation of the one called Harley Quinn's The Bird of Prey.
There you go. She wrote that one. And it's also written by Joy Harold. He wrote Transformers Rise of Beasts.
Rise of the Beasts.
I know, but I think it's funnier to say Rise of Beasts.
That's kind of weird. That's pretty hit or miss.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like
Yeah.
one, I don't know. They're just sitting around talking about Transformers and writing about the Flash and anywho. So they got their gravitas here. It stars America's Most Wanted, Ezra Miller. You got this young gentleman named Michael Keaton is in it doing one of these characters. I don't know. There's so many. Michael Shannon. He plays Zod. It's all these toys you played with as a kid.
And then, what's her name?
What's her name?
Sasha Kaye? Supergirl?
There you go. Oh yeah. This is, I guess, what a weird place to be. Like, you're introducing a bunch of characters that you know damn well aren't going to carry over into the next movies. And why I keep saying that is because here's the plot of the film. It's the Flashpoint paradox, kind of. That's how it was addressed in the comic books. Basically, Flash he can run so fast that he learns he can time travel. And he's like, oh, well, my whole thing is that my parents died, or my mom got killed by someone, and my dad's in jail. And that's obviously like the big bummer for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and make sure that my mom doesn't die, so then my dad doesn't go to jail. Then I can have like a semblance of a life to live over here, right? He chats this up with Bruce Wayne here, played by Ben Affleck. It's Batfleck, right? The Flash talking to Affleck about it. He's like, hey, I could save my parents. He goes, no, for all the reasons that in every movie time travel is a bad idea. You go back, you change something, it messes everything up. And he's like, yeah, but what if I just do it a little bit? Like, he doesn't interfere. He just wants to do it, and so he does it. And then exactly what they said is going to happen happens, and everything changes. And now he finds himself, when he's time traveling, he gets shoved into or a different timeline where his mom is alive, and that's nice for him. But now he realizes he needs to get his younger self powers too, otherwise he won't have powers and he won't be able to get back. So he has to push his younger self into the same accident that gave him the powers. So now there's two Flashes and they both have powers. But then Zod shows up from Man of Steel. When did that movie come out, of Man of Steel? I swear it was like 2012 or something.
You know, Dylan?
Feels like it.
Yes, this ancient film, Man of Steel. This is the movie that essentially kicked off this segment of the DC connected universe, right? And he's like, oh, well, we got to stop Zod because he's going to wreck everything. And now, which completely, goes against his premise of like not interfering with time stuff, because, Zod killed like a lot of people in that Man of Steel movie. Anywho, he has to talk to Batman, which gets us into the gimmick of the movie that they've been shoving down your throat in every friggin' trailer you've seen in the last 6 months, which is, who is the Batman of this multiverse? Michael Keaton. It's the Batman of 89 fame, and he's aged up. He's an old man now. It's not Batfleck anymore, which is kind of fun to see, right? Side note, apropos of nothing, really liked to see Batman as a like non-paramilitary guy. Classic model Batman, all the Batman we see in films now, they got look like riot gear on, and they're all like super jacked up, and I don't know. You remember why you liked those old Batman movies, because they were so silly. And I'm getting off track here. That's the plot of the movie. It's a lot.
Big part of the movie is that he made a universe, or the timeline that he was in, there weren't other superheroes. Like,
Right.
there was Batman, but he was retired. And now that Zod is there, there's nobody to defend people. He has to train his young self up so that
Right.
they can at least have a Flash. But then they have to go on a quest to find the various different superheroes that he made disappear in this timeline.
Yeah, because in Man of Steel, they surrender Superman to Zod, and then they fight, and then they wreck the city. That movie changed, of all these, if you don't like these fucking superhero movies, I'm sorry, but I'm deeply invested in it. And that Man of Steel was the movie that altered all superhero movies going forward, because it got so much criticism because Superman and Zod just wrecked Metropolis, right, when they were fighting each other. And basically, fan backlash or viewer backlash, critical backlash, whatever you want to call it, was like, bro, you can't just show these superheroes destroying massive amounts of human life. And so between I think the Avengers came after this, and you'll notice in that movie, they're like, okay, is every single person safe and out of the city? Okay, there's not a single soul left in the city. Okay, now let the aliens blow it up. And it's almost every movie after that, they have to give a good 30 seconds at least into saying, okay, the bad guy is here, but he found the most abandoned place that's ever existed, and now we can fight. So you fucking babies will let us show some destruction. Because that's just it. We still want to see people get punched into buildings.
Yeah.
But it's just uncomfortable if there's a bunch of people there. Anyways, Superman's not in this world. We get Supergirl. It's Superman's cousin. She's here. And apparently in this multiverse of worlds, Zod has intercepted Clark Kent before he came to Earth, or Kal-El, if you will. So there's no Superman. There's Supergirl. They got to fight these guys. That's where the big fight happens. How do you guys rank this at the other DC movies? General takeaways. What do you guys got to say?
All of them that connect.
Yeah, obviously not the Nolans or the Tim Burtons, or I guess technically Joker or Batman. They are removed from this.
Yeah, this is easily the best one then.
Easily?
Yeah. What else would there be?
Shazam 2.
Shazam
Wonder Woman.
1.
Yeah.
Shazam 1 was pretty cool. I'll defer to Dylan because he's probably seen them all. I haven't seen all of them.
I think in this room it's safe to say, maybe not for Brent, but everyone has seen this entire series in theater.
That is so bad.
Oh, except for 2. You guys didn't see Aquaman in theaters?
That's true.
And Wonder Woman 84 was not in theaters.
Right.
You say The Flash is the best one?
I think so.
I mean, Wonder Woman, I think, is the safe bet.
The original one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the Suicide Squad count? The James Gunn one?
I think it would have to, yeah, because Harley Quinn.
Then that's
is in it.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'll go with
That
that.
one's very
Well,
awesome.
then that one's better.
Right.
Yeah.
I just thought this one was so much easier to watch. It's ugly
Right.
to watch, but the story and stuff is kind of fun enough.
Right.
Whereas some of the other ones, they just get too much into some nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Batman versus Superman is probably the most divisive, and Justice League has the most train wreck kind of baggage attached to it. But yeah, I either way, we're comfortable calling this movie not that, right? So if you hated those kind of DC movies, this one is definitely brighter in tone and coherent, weirdly lore dense, but they make it palatable for human ears. It's not oh, well, there's a painting in the background of Lex Luthor's office that suggests that parademons have been here before. If you were actually paying attention, you fucking dunce. It's not that kind of lore. It's like, a story, I think. Plot is what they call it.
The stuff that we've seen, I'd say, yeah, the Suicide Squad's the superior watch in terms of my willingness to go back to it. I'll probably only watch this movie once.
Right.
Suicide Squad, I felt it was like funny.
Yeah.
And more imaginative to
Obviously,
me.
the Suicide Squad, not the first Suicide
Yeah,
Squad.
the
just
Suicide,
to make,
for sure.
Given
I
the
think
obvious.
This one, I think I'm tired of the multiverse already.
Well, you can't really say already since we're like
about to get into it more.
I don't know what was the first really multiverse movie. Yeah. Well, I guess Scarlet Witch stuff, the TV series on Disney.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like the introduction proper, but I think in terms of like superhero media, and that segues into the Loki one, which is like hardcore multiverse stuff.
I've noticed that they've been referring to the DC universe now as a DC multiverse, like across all platforms and stuff. So I think they're leaning into it. Maybe.
Yeah, right.
At least for this movie. I don't know.
Sure. Where are you at with this one, Dylan? Against the other films and just leaning it towards the better or entertaining or laborious to watch?
The more I think about it, it's like Batman versus Superman, the both cuts of the Justice League, Aquaman, the first Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman 84. This is my ranking.
Highest to lowest?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still going down.
I like watching BVS because it's funny.
Right.
The Suicide Squad is probably the GOAT.
Right.
I would say in that regard, in all those films.
Yeah.
The Flash is still, like, to me anyway, was still really fun. I could probably put that Flash film in the top 5 of DCEU films.
There's like 8 movies total.
No, there's like 10, isn't there?
Sure.
All right, here. Let's do it. Top 5. You ready? Suicide Squad, first one. Second one, the emancipation of the Harley Quinn.
You're lying.
Jared Leto Joker, dude. Possibly the best Joker, and like it's sadly one that we'll never get again.
Yeah, the least amount of screen time Joker.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I would still say the Suicide Squad, the second one's still better, but I'm not trying to bring down my boy the Flash here.
Yeah, I like I always look for like some kind of message or theme or like grand statement to these movies, because I do think throughout kind of any superhero media, really, they're all just excuses to get across simple ideas, even if it's as blunt as good versus evil. I think that's sort of a justification for, guys with underwear outside of their pants punching each other on the streets. It's all very silly, but you can communicate ideas through it effectively. And to me, I really like this idea that this movie had. Well, first of all, I like that this movie had an idea or a couple, or just the idea of like, hey, what if you, when you were 30, could talk to yourself when you were 20? Just the fact that that's there is like, okay, this is a cut above, I think, a lot of superhero movies, right? And it's like, would you listen when you were 20 to yourself with the wisdom you have accrued over time? What would that experience be like, etc.? So despite all the multiversal cameo-ridden stuff, there is still like some kind of core central idea with that, which I like. And there's, of course, like fate and messing, what happens if you change time and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was boring. But again, a good chunk of this film, you're just watching a 30-year-old person spend time with himself when he was 10 years younger, and he's just so goddamn insufferable. And that's kind of an interesting concept. And that's what you can do in this kind of movie. And I think it gives it a little bit more depth. Again, this isn't like, life-changing stuff here, but it's at least a pinch of like protein for all of the sugar that's going on in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think of like that, where it's a superhero movie that's not extra heavy on the superhero part. Like there's another movie in there somewhere, another genre of movie.
Yeah.
And it isn't like detective or whatever. It's just kind of like a Freaky Friday or something.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe.
We got to hide from mom.
Yeah. That might be why this one works to me, especially like in the wake of all those other DC movies that are like they're trying to be so tough, you know. It's like, can you just is there anything else you want to tell me, or do you just want to tell me you're gritty, you know?
Yeah, you are not like the other superhero movies. And I do think that getting into the realm of like the acting in it, I was surprised I liked Ezra Miller in this. Good job. That's not easy, you know, having to play yourself 10 years younger. And then as the movie goes on, one of the Flashes is like corrupted by too much time jumping. So now they're playing 3 different Flashes. And I don't know, it's a feat. Also, the Flash was pretty insufferable in Justice League.
Yeah.
Like, what is brunch is probably up there with why did you say that name, as far as like just go-to lines to just show how really annoying some of these movies can be, you know? So this is a redemption, I think, for Ezra Miller's acting abilities or whatever. It's like, okay, here's what happens when you kind of can put this character on rail and, you know, let them kind of cook without the most annoying dialogue in the world written for them. I liked it, and it did seem a little bit difficult. It wasn't too hammy. I don't know. I appreciated it.
Yeah, I'm glad that it was a lot more toned down and like a person
Yeah.
instead of just I don't know what it was. You know, like you could say like a Jar Jar Binks or something. It's for the kids. It's
Right,
something to, you know, to amuse somebody. And so it's like this wacky character, the Flash, in these Batman movies. But it wasn't even funny or enjoyable or anything.
Yeah. It was he a manic pixie dream girl, the Flash?
Not even. Nobody was interested. It was just like, shut up. Why is he here? Go away.
Right.
Here's like a better version of this character.
And you could argue maybe this Flash is a little more battle worn than previous iterations of the character.
Yeah, but then you also see his young self, like when he's teaching him. That character is the closest to what we had seen of the Flash.
Right.
But it's still like
more tolerable.
Yeah,
he's just
absolutely.
doing Keanu Reeves in Bill and Ted's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude.
Yeah. How he could have been.
Right.
You know, if he had grown up with his parents. And so he's kind of like, you're really annoying. And you're not really saying, but I'm really annoying. It's like the version of me that had the parents is really annoying.
Right,
you
right.
know?
Well, yeah, and that's, again, kind of going back to themes or having some sort of central ideas. It's like, yeah, if you have life too good, maybe you're kind of an annoying prick. And maybe if you have to go through some shit, like, you know, your dad getting locked up and everything, maybe you develop a little bit of grit, as it were. So, yeah, again, just a little something going on in the plot to make it have a little bit of substance. How about those special effects?
Top notch, bro.
People are mad, obviously. I was reading some stuff, and people didn't like that they brought back all the Supermans, like their likenesses.
Right.
Especially like George Reeve, you know, he passed away. Christopher Reeve passed away. They're like, can you
Yeah.
imagine? So George Reeve was notoriously screwed over by
Right.
DC, you know, financially. So a lot of people are really, I don't know if they're feigning offense or if they're actually offended that, you know, hey, it's really screwed up. You know, this man was completely screwed over by DC. Now they're kind of capitalizing on him yet again. And then some people didn't like Christopher Reeves being in it because he had no say and, you know, that sort of thing. But when you sign these contracts, you sign your likeness over. So, you know, I guess if you didn't have
Yeah.
your lawyer inform you what you're getting into, you don't really have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, we could talk a lot about the people who invented the characters on the
Oh, yeah.
with pen and
Yeah,
paper.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's,
I think some of those
yeah.
would kill to get some of that Christopher Reeves money.
Exactly. Yeah.
For getting, you know, equally screwed over.
Well, then did they ask Nicolas Cage?
I think they better have.
They probably,
'cause-
yeah, that might be, is that new?
yeah, there's no old footage.
There's like promo stuff, but they never really shot anything. I think
There's
there's
a
like
documentary. Yeah,
there's like test screenings or whatever. But that's the
yeah.
thing. Like you would have to look at the '90s footage of Nicolas Cage, grow that hair out on him, and then
Yeah.
just make up that spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they called Cage in. He's got a weekend free. He'll come by, get you 30 seconds of screen time, maybe 2 minutes.
You think he was there? You think he actually showed up to anything?
I mean,
I can see them
Yeah.
just like kind of
Doing a
doing what
body
they
scan,
did. Yeah,
yeah.
do everything else we did with like Christopher Reeves.
yeah, the way all the special effects look, it's getting a lot of shit online, I guess.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
seeing
a
a lot
lot,
of it's pretty
yeah.
front facing with the criticisms of the movie. I gotta be honest, it did not especially bother me. I mean, it looks crappy, but like, I don't know. I can watch like a sci-fi channel movie. I can watch really shoddy 90s CG movies, and it's like, if the plot is there and the ideas are there and there's something to kind of keep me tethered, I'm fine with some. You want to say first gen Xbox. I think you forget how bad the first gen. I'm giving this one an Xbox 360. It's not quite Xbox One, not quite PS5, but not a PS3 either.
Got a question.
Go on.
It's kind of a double question. Anyone notice they didn't do that DC opener, like that little intro?
I don't even know what the DC opener is.
It's like a bunch of silhouettes of each
Oh, that's
big
right.
member doing
That's
doing
right.
their thing in SSDC.
What do you think that symbolized?
They didn't do that, but I'm wondering if that's like the same 3D models or like in that. Because it kind of looked the same. I was like, are they just doing this? That's why they didn't do it in the beginning, because it looks way
because
too
it would
much
look
like
too
that.
good compared to
Right.
what you get in there.
Oh, damn. That's a great point.
Yeah.
I think there's some like they show the DC logo changing over time or
Dude,
something.
I'm just gonna give you a yes.
Yeah, that's a for sure.
Yeah.
That was sick. Straight into it, too.
But no, I don't know. I kind of just don't care. None of these movies look good.
This looked especially bad though, and I think it was because they put computer graphics over everything.
Right.
Like there was no
Yes.
scene basically, even when there's like nothing really happening. Like so there's the scene where the babies
Right.
are all falling out of the building. And I was like, okay, this looks like trash, but it's like funny, right? This is very
Yeah.
cartoonish.
It's
So,
played very silly.
yeah, so it's like, okay, this is supposed to be this ugly.
Right.
But then when you see him running and his suit looks kind of weird.
It's like serious time.
He looks weird in the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh. And the first moment you see Ben Affleck as Batman is like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
this? I legitimately was not sure if it was supposed to be actually him,
Right.
because it was like almost unrecognizable. And then you notice that it's him, but you see that it's just his face, head on. You're watching him like riding a motorcycle toward you. And then it's like just his face, and the rest of the body and the head and stuff is like not together. And then the rest of the time, anytime that Affleck is as Batman, his cape and cowl are really like, it looks like plastic.
Right.
Oh.
Like it doesn't move well. And
I think they're trying to go for the Frank Miller thing. Yeah, that was my read on it. That's why it was so like smashed and just flat and non-dimensional. It was like it's very Frank Miller.
I mean, that's how they like programmed it or whatever.
Yeah, they just like AI. Please scan the Dark Knight.
Run it through the Miller filter.
Yeah,
No. 80s Miller, not Sin City. No.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then of course there's the part when he goes into the time crater or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the roughest, and I was like, I can't excuse this. I
can't
I
excuse
agree that like I like old sci-fi
Right.
movies and stuff, and graphics are whatever they are in whatever era. But this was like, you can't give me all the varying like quality,
Right,
like
right.
stick with something. If you were going to spend a ton of money on like one thing and not another, just spend equal amounts on everything, at least so that you can stay in that world.
Right.
Once you see something that's atrocious, it's like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
this takes me out of it entirely.
Yeah.
Like that whole crater scene. But I was sad because I recently saw, I guess, behind the scenes pictures of the Supergirl
Yeah.
costume, like the actress in the costume, and I was like, this is great. It just looks like a person. It looks like a Supergirl,
No,
in a
cover it
costume.
in chrome.
Yeah,
More
but
chrome.
it's so weird. It looks the way that it looks, except better. It's like now she looks fake.
Yeah, I don't know what the aversion is to just dressing. When you see cosplayers beating the
Yeah.
movies, that's a problem. And they often do, because it's
Yeah.
not really hard to put on a costume and play it, but they're just so afraid to do that,
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good chunk of time when the graphics didn't totally take me out, and it's when they're fighting Zod's like army.
Right.
But that's again because everything is super far away. So
Yeah.
like most of the action you see is like, you know, you're used to that looking like that. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, there's definitely some like distant shots for
There's an
sure.
off possibility that they had all those, what do they call those? The like the properties of all those CG things.
Oh, they had them already.
Yeah, like maybe when they were doing Man of Steel and they were like really sinking money into these things. Not that this movie was made for cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but like, you know, they already had all the graphics laid out in Man of Steel and like, let's Control C, Control V. We're looking good.
Oh my god! When you were talking about the babies, I thought you were going to talk about how it gets to the point where like he opens the microwave door and it's the fakest looking baby possible.
Oh yeah, it just that's what I'm like. This is okay.
So
I got
bad.
it. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm in.
Well, you know what? I'm going to use the RRR rule on this one and say I'd rather have a CG baby than a really a crappy looking CG baby than a real baby, even just bothered during the day. Like, yeah, I don't want to see you guys breaking out real panthers for RRR, so I'm not going to be sad if you have a kind of crappy looking one that you kill. Because, yeah, don't interfere with these poor things. They don't have nothing to do with.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're gonna be funny about it,
Right.
let's be funny.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Like when he's running and it looks really crappy, and I was thinking, man, the CW never looked like this.
Or at least, to your point, the CW is very consistent in its
Yeah,
crappiness.
yeah.
Not only just within the Flash, but like through, you know, what are the Legends called?
Legends Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow and all that. Yeah, they keep they have a house style for the CW. People are gonna look back at that CW stuff fondly, possibly. I could see it having a cult following because those are pretty. There's some quality,
They're good.
which I guess is a good segue if we're done shitting on the poor fucking undercooked CG of this nightmare, to talk about the cameos, because I got to say, sorely absent was the CW Flash guy. What's his name?
Grant Gustin.
Grant Gustin. They dissed our boy. Didn't put him in this flick in passing, man. That's stone cold. And they put everyone else in. Yeah, I thought that was cruel. I'm not like a Dawn or Superman guy, so like showing me Christopher Reeves and the Supergirl show up, that doesn't really do anything for me. The Batman thing didn't. The Keaton Batman, again, to go back to my point originally, loved seeing a Batman with a very different fighting style than the Batman we've been seeing recently. Love seeing just a stripped down, believable guy fighting people rather than having like every piece of like bone breaking tech imaginable, you know. So I liked that fact. The part where I needed Michael Keaton to play him, that didn't really move the needle for me. As much fondness as I have for those Batman movies, this one doesn't really tickle me in that kind of way. But, you know, still served the story itself. I don't think it was just to be in. So
we talked several dozen episodes ago about how they let Batgirl go.
right.
We lamented it because like, oh, there was a Michael Keaton cameo in that. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why they're so easy to let it go? Because they know they had this one in the pocket?
I've heard posited, and that's all we're going to hear is theory here, that maybe this movie was like pretty much close to finished.
Yeah.
And that movie probably wasn't as finished as it's led on. Depending on the report you'll hear, it'll be like, it was 1,000% done and ready to send, and they just wouldn't send it, which could be true. But it could also be true that it was maybe like 75% done, and just like, you know what? We're
Cut
good
the
here.
loss, yeah.
And hard to chastise them for the decision, which I am still chastising them for, don't get me wrong. But when you see how like Shazam 2 performed, and Shazam 2, in my estimation, was a very fun film, a perfectly fine, serviceable, good movie, and it just sucked money. So like
This one as well is underperforming because they said that in order for it to do what they need it to do, first weekend has to be 85 mil or above, and it closed out at 55. And I was wondering, do you think that is the character? Is it Ezra Miller reaction, or is it earlier portrayals of the Flash, like for instance in Justice League, or something else?
Well, the Flash just isn't that popular.
Right.
I know we're in a time culturally where people just think like, oh, people love comic book movies. You put a fucking comic book character, they're going to watch it. And it's like,
Good luck.
yeah, like in 2004 15 when we were like super juiced on Avengers and stuff. Yeah, I was like, who do you got for me now? Because I saw what you did with Iron Man and that was amazing. So maybe the next one you have is great. But we've been B-teamed to death and C-teamed and D-teamed and straight to streaming to death. So it's like, hey guys, we got, I don't know, the Green Goblin solo. Who's going to watch it? It's not necessarily going to pack out a house. And it's like, there's a reason why pre-MCU, what you saw was like Batman, Superman. You know, the Flash is very B-team, man.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
I don't think I even owned any of the books at any point.
I mean, it's just not that popular of a character. And there's cool stuff going on in the comics and in the lore, and there's cool things to do with it. It's not like, oh, it's a shitty character. It's a convoluted character, actually. And that, you know, just the fact that you had like 3 versions of the Flash by the 80s, you know.
Oh, wow.
That's what that Crisis on Infinite Earths thing was kind of doing, which is, by the way, if you're sick of multiverse stuff, I don't think you're alone. And I think we are headed towards the reverse of that, which is every single one of these companies is going to backtrack it with a Crisis on Infinite Earths type event.
Oh, you're right.
Which is arguably, so even Flashpoint Paradox in the comics was sort of a way, because I think that from Flashpoint you got, what were they calling those DC books? New 52? Yeah, I think Flashpoint led to New 52, which was DC's way of being like, okay, fucking simplify everything, streamline everything. This is the guy who's in this universe. These are the books we're putting out. These are the stories we're telling. And so even Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is like, okay, since we've bought like Charleston Comics and all these different properties, it's all a mess. 1985, we have the idea. A great John Byrne illustrated 12-issue arc. We're going to get everything together and we're going to, you know, have some crazy event stuff happen. And what do they call that guy? Pariah, the guy who sees all these deaths on all these Earths. Really cool story. Anyways, everything's going to be combined. There's now one universe. None of this bullshit.
Yeah.
In 1985, they did that to kind of like simplify things. And then so Flashpoint Paradox is like mid 2000s or something to be like, okay, guess what? The last couple of decades, we got a little unruly. Again, the Flash fucks up and we got to reset the universe again.
Yeah.
Which contextually in, you know, the cinematic world is kind of significant because now this is leading into James Gunn's headed franchise. But let me tell you, you're going to see a lot more of this stuff because I think everyone, and as the box office is kind of agreeing, everyone is kind of fucking sick of this multiverse bullshit. You could get away with it a couple times, but after what is now like half a decade and change of like, guess what? We're bringing back Wolverine as Logan, and he's over in this universe, and there's portals, and anyone you liked from the previous one, we could do it. Don't worry, it's all continuity, it's all canon. It's like, we're sick of it. And so I think you're going to get a lot of these kind of like big events that kind of condense everything. So yeah, multiverse shit, to my original point before I was rambling all much, people don't give a shit about the Flash.
Yeah.
Never have.
Right.
Again, this is like new mentality where it's like, oh, it's a comic book movie. This is a big deal. A lot is happening.
Not anymore.
No, it's a Flash. We don't care.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at the numbers and you're seeing Aquaman do gangbusters, I mean, that's been the ultimate punchline forever, right? Is that like Aquaman is a joke character, but the Aquaman movie did well.
It's a sexy man.
Yeah, I mean,
that Momoa.
Look, I'm not saying you can't predict these sort of things.
Yeah.
You know? Dylan, cover your ears for a second.
All right.
That Aquaman movie was fucking abysmal, like just completely incomprehensible.
I never saw it. Yeah.
It is gibberish. Okay, Dylan, you can uncover your ears now. We were just talking about how cool Aquaman is.
Yeah.
And sadly, I think the draw of a lot of these movies is you got to watch this one because a new one is coming out, and like it's been pretty heavily advertised or known. It's like this is the end of the road for all that Snyder bullshit.
It's also marketed as a Batman movie.
Yeah, and not the Robert Pattinson Batman that made a bunch of money a couple years ago. Oh, no?
No, not that one.
That one is completely unconnected. Okay, just the Batman who hasn't been Batman.
That's crazy. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That is kind of weird. If you think about it, like, who are they trying to get to watch this movie? Yes, the Flash is like kind of a lesser known character, which is why the CW was able to, pick it up and kind of do whatever they wanted with it to great effect. And I think that people who like that show and can appreciate it would have loved to have seen that Flash on the big screen.
Yeah, that's
you
just
know?
like Gang Wars. I mean, this is a real like niche subdivision of fandom. But like, yeah, I think there's some CW flashers that are not showing up to this
Yeah.
because they have not given their propers to the fucking show that went on for like 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Silly.
And so, like, let's say they had put him in it. You would have got those people.
Right.
You would have still been able to use this as the cancel whatever. Doesn't matter. We just need the Flash movie to come out.
Right.
So that we can reset everything. Like,
Yes.
doesn't matter. Just put it out there. So I think that they don't even care. I mean, of course they care that it's losing money, but they needed it to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I guess that the Batgirl thing is kind of like, just throw it away. Like, it's not going to go anywhere anyway. We have to let out Black Adam because he is going to say stuff.
It's contractually mandated that we release this.
And they're like, we'll get sued for more than.
Yeah.
There's a world where that could have changed things. You know, like if Black
Sure.
if Black Adam did like Top Gun Maverick money, bro, the James Gunn verse would be a little corner over in the side of.
That's true.
That would be as like, oh yeah, James Gunn's getting some movies. You got
That's
Joker 2
crazy.
coming out, but obviously the power hierarchy of the DC universe has changed, and Black Adam is the main line here. You got Cavill back. There's a Henry Cavill. Poor Henry Cavill. I'm sad about all the people who didn't get cameos. Henry Cavill relegated to PS4 Sprite cameo, if
In
you want to
Black
call
Adam,
it that. In this movie, in The Flash,
Yeah,
they
there's
have
like, where's Superman? He's dealing with a volcano or something, and he's just like
you
buzzing
see
around
like
on the news.
you see like
that was his cameo?
right.
I
If you
missed
can
it
count-
because there's just so much going on.
Well, he wasn't the cameo. It was, it's like super R-type version of
yeah.
Superman flying around in 2D shooter mode. But Wonder Woman's in it. It's a grand finale, wrapping everything up, and they did.
Yeah, that's why they had to have this movie happen.
Yeah.
So that they could do reset. But so they don't have the Flash people that care
Right.
about the Flash. And then because they couldn't use Ezra Miller to do all this
Promo.
stuff, they had to lean really heavily on the Batman aspect of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's like, hey, you love this person. It's like, yes, but who loves this person? Like
True.
people who remember that Batman.
People who haven't been to a
who-
superhero movie since Batman Returns.
Yeah,
People
possibly
who say they hate superhero movies.
like
Yes.
those people or like comic people
Yeah.
who would also know the source material of this stuff,
Who would
and
be
so
there
you'd
anyways.
so you'd
Yeah,
want to see
yeah.
this on the screen no matter what. So it's a weird, like, the Venn diagram of these things is getting smaller. and
Yeah.
You're right.
smaller.
I wonder what the drop off is going to be next week. It's
Yeah.
probably going to be
Pretty
precipitous. yeah.
sad.
And it's frustrating to me because they did make a pretty solid film.
Yeah.
I think it
It's all
carries
3 or 3.5. Yeah.
kind of carries itself as a like a sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
like even though it's so densely superhero lore oriented, I kind of feel like there's people who do not like these kind of movies that could watch this movie and maybe have a good time.
I really think with just like a general knowledge of superhero people,
Right.
that you could.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
you get it that I'd completely forgotten about Man of Steel, so Zod
Right.
got it. Just move on. you know?
Sure.
Bad
It's
guy.
like, yeah, bad guy is here. Last time we beat him. Now there's no help. We need to find some help. Okay. You don't really need to know everything else. You know Batman exists.
Right.
You know Wonder Woman exists. You know Aquaman. He doesn't really matter until, way later. But even without knowing like the lore or anything, you can still watch this movie and still get, whatever you need to get out of it.
Yeah, and I guess shout out to the writers of this for making a pretty complicated idea simple enough to translate. Because, at no point was I lost or I didn't really care about the emotional stuff. So when he's just like, Mom, I love you, I don't care about that. I was definitely bored during that, but that's a very small part of it.
Yeah, and it's fine, especially for somebody that might be just coming into it not being so invested in the comic part.
Right.
You could use that in a
Yeah.
movie, that heart or whatever
Yes.
in the movie. But yeah, you don't even need to get into why can he time travel? Doesn't matter. He's
Yeah.
fast.
Sure.
It's like, okay, got it. You don't really need to know that much. And yeah, it's enough of a different kind of movie other than just a superhero movie that it's an easy watch, I think, for people who might not even know anything. I'd
Yeah.
be really curious though to know. There's no I don't know if you can find someone who's never seen any
Right.
of these movies and is very unfamiliar. But
My dad probably.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, you need to watch this Flash.
Well,
movie.
yeah, to your point, I would like to believe that by way of just being a pretty good movie, that maybe like word of mouth would propel it. I mean, obviously they always drop off for the second wave, but like maybe not a totally DOA second week
see.
out.
I mean,
I don't think it's going to be great, but you know, they did a good movie. You could see word of mouth getting around and be like, no, this one's safe to watch if you have even a passing interest in this sort of thing.
Maybe the people who haven't watched a superhero movie since Batman 89 would be like, oh, I remember him. I loved Michael Keaton being in this. I am glad that he was there. I think you couldn't just do it with the Flash. You had the Supergirl fine, but you needed like an actual character to, to hang things on. And if it's Batman, they needed one. And he was there. And Michael Keaton's just great. He on screen, Michael Keaton is,
Magic.
the star.
Yeah.
So I thought he was great. And he looks like Batman,
Old ass retired Batman.
Yeah, he's good. I like him a lot.
So overall, is this the Flash or the Flush?
It can be two things, Colin.
I had that bit worked out like 5 days ago.
Nice.
Just for
The
the
day
record.
of the show.
Yeah, I think I
after we
said-
watched the movie.
Why were you screaming it during the movie? It was weird.
I was whispering it under my breath so I wouldn't forget. So that when night
okay.
now came,
Yeah,
I could say,
yeah.
"Is it a Flash or a Flush?" To me, this is a Flash. I enjoyed it. I rank it high amongst the DC movies. I would say, as far as movies this year go, superhero movies this year, and this is from a superhero enthusiast perspective, I liked it better than Ant-Man Quantumania.
Oh, yeah.
I liked it better than the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
And I did not like it as much as Guardians 3.
Right.
But I don't see myself liking a lot of things more than Guardians 3. Which, hey, foreshadowing, bodes well for the James Gunn verse, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If he brought me my favorite superhero movie of the year thus
think
far. So yeah, I rank this pretty high. I enjoyed it. This is certainly a Flash to me.
Flash?
Yes.
The CW one.
Oh, sneak this.
I like this movie. Like I said, it's an easy watch. It I think stands on its own without getting too lore heavy, or you don't have like a bunch of exposition like you do. So, Steppenwolf is here for the blah blah blah,
Oh
the
my
mother
God.
box, etc.
This gave me like
Like,
trauma.
what? You know?
A million years ago,
Yeah.
before humans came to
man.
Earth, Darkseid terraformed the planet.
Yeah, what?
Oh God, I'm having flashbacks.
Okay. Yeah, none of that. It's just here's the problem. Oops, I did it again. Let's fix it. No, there's no fixing it. Now I'm sad, but it's okay. But it was good. I liked it. The ideas were good. Execution was good, except for the visuals. The acting was good. I hope people watch it. It is pretty long, but it doesn't go as slowly as I was afraid that it would. I'm into it. And Clooney.
Oh yeah, man. Hey, well,
You look great.
I'm gonna put a pin in that one. We'll get back to it.
Okay. I don't remember if it was Walter Hamada or if it was James Gunn, but they, because there was a lot of criticism as to why they didn't cancel the Flash movie, and they said, well, it's just so impacting, and it's a mind blowing film, and so like there was a lot of hyperbole being said about it, and I kind of bought into it. I was like, oh,
Right.
I was like, man, Ezra Miller was like toxic, and if you don't, if they're not flushing this, then it must be something special. So I went in expecting something great, and I got something that was good. And I think I'm definitely in that camp of just like, just the Flash was never my character,
Right.
or like I said, I never owned any of the Flash books, so I enjoyed it when I was there. But like I said earlier, I won't be going back to it, so I'll call it Flesh.
Okay.
Instead of Flash. No, it's
Right
not, it's
in the
not
middle.
Flesh.
Human.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed. There's only one thing I wish they did, but that's for another day.
What do you mean? It is
It's amazing. It's
In what way, shape, or form can it be for another day?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you're have a conversation with me.
What's
We're having
you
it
guys in a
now.
rush?
This is the
You guys in a rush?
conversation.
What's going on?
DM the email.
Moviemasters760@gmail.com. Anyone listening?
Tell Dylan to stop being coy.
Yeah, if you want a glimpse into our hell and to learn about the Dylan Vortex, congrats, buddy. You're in it.
No, I do like it. I'll give it the Flash. I liked the baby. I liked the babies. I'm sorry, and I liked the dog animation being better than the baby animation. I'll give them that. I was like, you could tell they put more time.
Hey,
Yeah,
listen,
way more into the dog.
comic book accurate. Yeah, I'm sure you can just Google image search comic artist drawing babies.
Oh, yeah, no,
It's hilariously horrific every time. So maybe this is a nod to, hey, I mentioned John Byrne earlier. Look up him drawing the Fantastic
Drawing.
Four kids. It's
isn't it like super detailed?
it's horrific.
Oh no, it's okay. So Franklin Reed
Yeah.
is a man shrunken to like a 1 foot tall. The
Yeah.
head still the size of a man.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they just draw men that are smaller.
That's what I'm saying. Like they just look weird as babies. But sometimes the babies will just be like 2 dots and like a little smiley face.
Right.
Like if it's like not too close up.
Yeah.
Give it the Flash. My one thing, I wish they put Wally West in there. Would have been funny. I don't think there's any West.
Weird.
I guess that's Iris, huh?
Yeah, that's Iris.
But, no.
Wally, no fam. That's fine. That was my one thing. If you're gonna still email the email, but I'll give it the Flash. 5 out of 5. Good.
You said you were gonna say something about.
Yeah, you put a pin.
Yeah.
Circling back.
So, yeah, we got the George Clooney sting at the end of this, acknowledging his Batman. And I heard rumblings of a Schumacher cut of Batman Forever.
It's true.
You guys hear about this? Have you heard this? Have you seen about this? Apparently, I don't know if Schumacher was tweaking it like recently, or if this is like, oh yeah, I did my own cut of it, but I didn't tell anyone back then. So there is a Schumacher cut of Batman Forever that has been seen by, hey kids, it's your pal Kevin Smith here. He saw it and talks about it. He's like, oh, there's all this extra footage and shit like that they had. They go back into this family. It's a lot more. It's a fucking dark psychological movie. I was tearing up and shit like that. No, apparently there's all this extra, like there's a Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, and we may at some point see it, as much as we may or may not ever see any edits like this. I don't. If you want me to shit on the Schumacher Batmans, you're talking to the wrong kid here. I like those movies. I thought they had a fun take. Obviously absurd films.
Right.
But, as valid as like the grimness of BVS.
I mean, you remember the representation before they started making Batman movies was like Adam West.
Right,
Like
right.
what do you? It's fine.
Yeah. So I don't know what you could do to those movies to change them in any significant way, but I guess that's just a little fun factoid there. The Schumacher cut. Release it already, for the love of God. We've all been waiting for
Of
so
Batman
long.
Forever?
Yeah, I'm admittedly far more attached to Batman and Robin as kind of a weird, like, watch it with my friends in the weekend and, clown on the movie. The movie I've seen in the theater more times than any other film in the theater.
I remembered what the movie was that I saw a bunch of times finally, and I couldn't think of it at the time. It was Bring It On.
Whoa.
That's sick.
Yeah, I think I saw it 5 times.
Respect.
Damn, in theaters?
Yeah, I couldn't remember at the time. I'm like, I know there was one that was like an older movie. Yeah.
Was
I don't know
that
why.
just because you loved it?
I do like that movie a lot.
Yeah.
Is it
but
because
I
it's
have-
also filmed in San Diego?
Yeah, it's, it's a
Oh,
hometown.
I need to rewatch it then because I didn't live here when I
I don't
first
think
came out, yeah.
there's nothing screams San Diego.
No, it's
But-
just screams Southern California.
Yes,
though.
it's
Oh, okay.
parts of it was filmed at the high school I was at.
No shit.
Dude, that's like our big thing, dude.
That's so cool.
But so yeah, Batman and Robin is like burned into my brain, so I don't want them to change the frame of that movie.
Right.
But Batman Forever, I'm not that connected to. So
Okay.
yeah, hack it up.
I like that one.
Speaking of hacking it up, The Blackening is a horror comedy of a slasher variety. It is directed by Tim Story. Does that name sound familiar to you?
Well, it does because they showed it 36 times on screen.
Bro,
He
he's
executive
done
produced, wrote.
so many movies.
Really?
So many movies.
Any of note?
Tom and Jerry.
Nope.
The Shaft remake, the
Didn't
Ride
miss
Along
that.
movies, Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. He did Barbershop. He's
Okay.
done so
the
many
original
movies.
OG Barbershop?
Yes.
What about Barbershop 2?
Funny you should say that. This was written by Tracy Oliver and Dwayne Perkins. And Tracy Oliver worked on, I don't know about Barbershop 2, but one of
Okay.
the Barbershop sequels or like reboots. Or like,
It's kind of like a Godfather 2
Yeah.
situation,
There's not two, but how many? There's more Barbershops.
Oh, yeah, there's tons.
Yeah, so he did one of those.
Still clipping.
Which I think is odd. Is also written by Dwayne Perkins, who stars in the film too as Dwayne, creatively enough. And he wrote, Dylan, The Hip Hop Nutcracker. You remember that psychotic film we watched?
The Rev Run special?
Yeah, I was going to say it was like during the pandemic, but I think we just had COVID.
Yeah, you were like way past quarantine.
Yeah, we were late to the
This is like
game.
our third Christmas with COVID existing.
And so, yeah, one of the writers of that worked on this slasher flick. Just funny because, yeah, it gets to cut loose a little. The movie takes place in a cabin in the woods. Bunch of college friends get together for a reunion of sorts. One by one, they start getting picked off as they realize that the person who invited them is being held hostage or already murdered by a mysterious slasher who is picking them off and making them play sadistic games to see who will survive.
Just one game.
Yeah, just
A
one.
very racist game.
Yeah, they find a board game with like an old Sambo caricature in it. Listen, I can save you guys a lot of time here and just say watch the trailer because it's all pretty much there, including the plot of the movie here, right? And so they start playing this game, and it's like, they get locked in the room. They have to answer black trivia questions. What season of Fresh Prince did they replace Dark Vivian with Light Vivian?
The third.
I like that one. And they have to pick they have to elect the most black of them to die first, because they say the black character always dies first. And that's the big tagline of the movie, right? Is we can't all die first. And they're all black is a part of the movie. They're like, okay, since then the little saw guy, he's like, since you're all black, you have to pick the most black one and he'll die first. I did start to think, like, I don't think it's horror movies where the black character dies first. I think it's more like action movies. Sadly, probably arguably worse. There just wasn't much black representation in horror movies, like during the slasher era.
That's true.
So they would just be omitted from films entirely. Yeah. It would mostly be like, we're a squad of people and we're all gonna rush in and take this out, and then that's when the black character is always going to die
Maybe
first.
like turn of the century when you get away from like proper slashers,
right?
When you get into like Final Destination stuff, they definitely start doing some tokenism, but even then, I don't know if they necessarily die first as much as, like you said, like in action movies.
Yeah, and it's like they will die, and it's very meta, right? Because like the opening thing, they're like, name a black character who has survived a horror movie, and they're like Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett from Scream 2, and they're like. Oh no, they died. And then the lady was like, oh yeah, but they only died early because I don't think they could afford to keep them on, which is ironic because they are the biggest stars of the movie. Technically, you got Jay Farrow from SNL, legend, and Yvonne Orji, who is in Insecure, like the whole series. So they die immediately. They get died.
Hell
first.
yeah!
First,
As kind of a meta commentary on that issue.
Maybe that's a tribute to Scream, because it's like, you always kill the big star first.
Yeah, the whole thing is like, it's a horror movie that's aware of horror movies, so.
I think even the exterior of the house, it looked familiar to me. I'll have to double check, but it looked like the exterior of the house in the Friday the 13th reboot.
Okay, well, it could.
Weird nods.
If you haven't picked up on this, I'm happy to announce that this film had a $5 million budget.
Oh, cool.
Which is very crazy that this...
That's great.
Again, this director who's directed huge budget movies is kind of just shrinking it down and, even, again, kind of poking fun at its own budget by saying, like, they couldn't afford those actors. And then the biggest in my estimate, the biggest actors of the film get plucked off immediately.
Easily, yeah.
Like that's a funny bit. And this is I really enjoyed this movie for kind of playing equal parts comedy and horror, and not having one necessarily get in the way of the other. Like, I don't think they play the horror as comedic in terms of like, let's say, Scary Movie or something, where it's like the death scenes are goofy and silly.
Yeah.
All the horror scenes are as horrific as any slasher you'll see, but the comedy is definitely 3 notches above the comedy you'll see in any horror movie, you know?
That's why I really took umbrage with the actual mastermind behind it, the portrayal of that character, because that was what started yanking me into Scary Movie territory, because it was like a caricature, just like, hey, I'm a nerd guy. Yeah. And it's like, no.
They have a nerdy guy who's straight up doing like Norbit or
it was Norbit.
Oh, God, what was Eddie Murphy's character in... I still can't remember the name of this movie.
Bowfinger.
Bowfinger. Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah.
This is why I have to keep Dylan around. Remind me of the one movie that I can never remember. Yeah, he's playing like that kind of a nerdy character.
Yeah.
And it is, you're right. Because everyone else is like,
Contemporary.
Yes.
And believable and grounded.
yeah, and like a rounded out character
Yes.
that could be a rounded out character in any kind of setting. And then there's like a nerdy nerd guy. And so, it's a little, it's not the most consistent tone, I guess you would say.
No, I think you nailed it. Like when you said that, like the jokes are like, in general, they're like they're 3 notches above what you would expect in a horror movie.
Yeah.
But the one thing that kind of like pulls away from it is that character and that dialogue.
Right.
But yeah, everything else was pretty spot on.
And yeah, all the horror elements were effective. They could have easily played, and not that they're not playing it straight, but they could have taken out all the comedy and you'd still have a pretty effective slasher, scary masks, woods, who's the guy killing everyone, all the tropes you'd expect to see. And man, just so great to see. I guess this counts as low budget. I don't know if
5 is definitely low.
I think there's a lot of people that would fucking sell a kidney to get a $5 million budget movie funded.
Sure.
It's probably not low for a lot of aspiring filmmakers.
For theatrical.
But for a theatrical release with a bunch of marketing, I've been seeing trailers of this forever. It's just great to see a movie like this out there. And it's definitely competent and entertaining.
Felt fresh.
Yeah, it felt immensely fresh, sandwiched between The Flash, Fast X, Transformers, like every big budget spectacle you could see. It's like, here's some people in the woods and they're running from a guy and they're cracking jokes.
Yeah.
If I have a critique, I'd say that about 75 to 85% of the jokes fall into the category of like, white people be like this, but black people be like that, or drugs exist. That's just it. I have a Molly. Oh, you're fucked up on Molly. I'm fucked up on Adderall. Oh, she's fucked up on Adderall right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. They're pretty good jokes for that kind of style.
That makes it relatable to people too, because a lot of people are on those drugs.
But it still gets a little one notish after a while.
Oh, of course.
Samey, as far as the humor goes. But minor grievances over and over. And again, given the budget and the scale and like just how it's presented overall, like the gripes I have with this film are very minor. I just like watching horror movies like this, I don't know. I think it really is the pacing of it that's just calming to me. Throw in a couple yucks that are effective jokes. Hey, that's just gravy, baby.
Have you gotten any unintentionally racist comments from friends that are trying not to be racist when talking about this movie?
I have not talked to anyone about this movie.
For instance, like I told this person that I was going to go see this movie, and they're like, "So, were there any white people in it?" And I was like, "What? It's called the Black." Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, there are, but like, why are you asking me that? Why don't you ask me if it's good?" So yeah, like it's been kind of like an odd phenomenon. Like some people, I think, are just like, instead of just going to go see it, they're just like asking questions about it. Where I'm like, you could just go see it. It's going to take an hour and a half of your life. You don't need to quiz me on it.
It's very strange to hear that because then I guess if I'm like, you don't need to gripe about this movie. I'm going to gripe about this movie. They gave away the best jokes in the trailer.
They did.
And I sympathize more the more movies I watch with this approach that studios have. Because on one hand, you need to fucking sell your movie. You need to get butts and seats. Of course, you show them the best parts of it to get them there. But then the other side of that is that every scene is not ruined, but it's like, you see the best parts. And like, to me, this is absolutely a movie where I'd be like, watch the trailer. If it seems like it's your thing, definitely go to see it because it's going to be your thing.
Yeah.
Truth in advertising. You know what I'm saying?
If you don't know the answer, guess. How much do you think it made this weekend?
I do know the answer, so I will.
Yeah, okay. I thought it'd be higher than this. $6 million.
Yeah.
And obviously it made its money back.
Right.
Right. Fantastic.
Better than other films have done.
But here's the thing: is like when we've seen like serviceable to terrible to mid horror.
Yeah.
And it's done huge on opening weekend. By huge, I mean like 18 million.
Well, what did The Pope's Exorcist or like Consecration or...
Those aren't traditional horror movies. This is like slasher
Well,
style.
I would say this is like more comedy.
Okay.
Well,
And I think that the marketing too is like it's a comedy.
All right.
People are probably like, oh, it's a black comedy movie.
Right.
That's
That would
not
make
for
me line up. Are you kidding?
Well, so
But I don't look at She Came in the Woods as a comparison.
Oh,
I would
I
say-
forget how that did.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forgot everything about that movie.
Yeah.
But I would imagine this opening is running circles around that. Again, I think there's more broad appeal to it than like
I'd hope so.
hardcore horror
Jesus,
people.
yeah.
And I mean, I felt this was well marketed in terms of like the fact that knew it was coming out far in advance and have been seeing posters, and it has it. Again, very great tagline they put up front. Like the marketing is on point with this one.
Yeah.
I think there's like some smart people behind that who are pushing it. So I don't know. I think that number is not surprising. And I mean, look at what it's up against.
I know.
And it's not just what's coming out this week.
That's
it's
a good
like
point.
people that have been like, yeah, shit, I've been meaning to see Into the Spider-Verse forever. I've been meaning to see, I mean, yeah, we're watching every movie like freaks, you know, there's people who are just like,
they got one to burn for summer.
I've heard Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is great.
Plus, I mean, people are like, now people are that are just seeing that, hey, it's going to be on streaming within weeks. Why do I need to go see it? I'd like to see like how black comedies have performed during their theatrical run versus like aftermarket.
Right. And you are right about horror doing well, but maybe, and you know, I think this is kind of the push of the film, right? Is it's like, let's combine the two, you know, like let's combine the comedy and horror. Why not just have them coexist? We have a million horror comedies already, why not this kind of comedy? Why not these kind of actors?
Yeah.
And like as loath as I am to admit it, maybe that's like an oil and water situation for a lot of people. I mean, I think it was successful in this film, but maybe the people who would go see The Boogeyman would not show up to this because it's like, oh, it's like a black comedy kind of thing. And maybe people who would have liked to have seen this kind of comedy, it's like, I don't want to watch a slasher. Yeah. So maybe these two things are hurting the base. But
it works against itself.
It's so silly to talk about that as it not doing well when it's like it's a tiny ass movie sitting between giant spectacles and like thriving within its means, working with a great cast, like a smart locations, like this is a brilliant way to like work within your budget and do a lot with a little.
We're also warped because of our frequency in the movie theater. We're inundated by the marketing, whereas like a normal person doesn't have, you know, giant cardboard cutouts staring at them 3 to 5 days a week. Right. Getting marketed to them.
When I saw the poster, because that's all that I've seen at the theater, I thought it was a parody movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I wouldn't watch it normally. Like it looks like a scary movie, you know. So I kind of feel like if that's the vibe I got just from seeing the poster, that might be the vibe other people got, and just be like, I don't care to watch those. Those aren't funny, you know. Which is a shame because it's not a parody movie. Right. It is aware, you know,
maybe
of the tropes and stuff, but it is more comedy than a horror movie. And I don't think that it's a bad thing that the jokes were in the trailer. Yeah. Because I think the funniest parts of the movie were not the jokes. It was just the characters. Right. And like little things that they do and that
expressions.
They say. Yeah. That's what's really funny.
That was a big aspect of it. The movie is the nonverbal communication. It almost gave black people like superpowers in the sense of like you just look at each other and be like, but like every black person can hear what the other black person is thinking.
Exactly. And they're trying to communicate that, thinking that the killer guy isn't going to hear him, but you know. But character-driven jokes as opposed to the kind of situational-based jokes.
Character-driven comedy, because they don't have to say jokes. Yeah. It's just like the way that they talk to each other or the way that somebody responds to something because that's their character. That's fun to watch. And that's really what was great about this movie. It's like there is a slasher. There is a Saw element, you know, to the movie. There is a cabin in the woods. There are some Texas Chainsaw type, you know, stuff going on. But really just watching these people be normal people together, that's what's funny to me. I like, you know, it's aware of itself enough where they're like, I'm going to say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. I think we should. I think we need to. Don't say it. I think we should split up. No!
Right.
You know?
Again, a joke in the trailer.
Yeah, but you know, they are able to act the way that you would want real people to act, but also a little like funny.
Yeah, I think there's something to your point about establishing character, which is never really addressed in your average slasher movie because it's just like, I'm the cheerleader, I'm the jock guy. You know, they're in such broad strokes, whereas this movie, you kind of understand like the characters, their relationship to each other, and I don't know, they're a little bit more fleshed out and nuanced, which to Brent's earlier point makes it even more ridiculous that there's this guy kind of doing a shtick
Yeah.
the whole movie, which is totally
It wasn't needed. Yeah.
anathema to the kind of characterization that everyone else gets.
I was expecting them to reveal that he was not that kind of guy
Right.
in the movie because it was such a weird portrayal
Yeah.
of like a nerdy guy, I guess. Like the first time you see him, you're like, oh, this guy's faking it. you
Yeah,
know?
like he's gonna shake it off and
Yeah,
be like,
and
give him a Kaiser Sose bit.
Yes, so you expect that the whole time, and then when it's kind of not happening, you're like, wait, so what am I supposed to be getting from this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So I don't know. I thought that was really weird, but I couldn't come up with an explanation for it either.
So overall, for the Blackening, are we gonna roll the dice because of the game, the board game?
I get it.
Okay, or are we not going to accept the invitation? I'm saying roll the dice. This is an entertaining movie. Admittedly, you could get away with streaming it, which I think is apparently how a lot of people are going to end up watching this movie is at home. I personally I don't know how I've come to this point, but I just really like watching horror movies in the theater, good or bad. There's just something cozy about it. And this is enough of a horror movie to where I can get that same kind of feeling. And then there's like this comedic element that I thought actually worked, and a lot of times it doesn't. So credit to working. Overall, I got nothing bad to say about this one. I will say roll the dice for sure. I guess I have a lot of bad things to say, which I just spent the last 15 minutes kind of saying small, shitty things about it. Yeah. I guess a bit.
Little microaggressions.
But I can't say I have nothing bad to say about this movie after saying
Overall.
a bunch of shit about it.
So roll the dice.
Yes.
I can't immediately think of a bad thing to say about this movie. Even that weird character is just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't kill the movie.
Yeah, it kind of just adds to the weirdness of the movie or the unexpectedness of the movie. I will say that I agree that I think a lot more people will watch it streaming, but that I was concerned, maybe that's not the right word, but I was wondering, I hope that people will watch this movie because it's a fun watch and it's funny. And it's really just like well done and clever, for especially the budget that it was. And kind of a fresh take on something. But I was wondering if people wouldn't watch it because it is so obviously black-led, you know, that people might not normally be inclined to watch. Partially because they don't feel connected to the characters maybe, or maybe they feel uncomfortable, like they shouldn't watch it or something. And there's a space that needs to be made for like being able to watch things like this without that racial aspect of it, because people want to make money off of these movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they want everybody to watch these movies, you know, but you also are kind of like, am I allowed to watch this movie? Am I allowed to laugh at some of these jokes?
Yeah.
There's a weird zone, you know, that I think a lot of people might not feel super comfortable with unless they are streaming at home. And
oh, wow. I didn't think of that.
The problem with the streaming at home is that I worry that people who would just pass by this and be like, black comedy, not interested, you know, without having like the seal of approval of being out in theaters, that you'd just be like on Tubi and just flipping through and just think it's another one of these movies.
I don't want to see it. Don't Tubi this movie. Come on, give it a Netflix. Give it a Hulu.
No, I'm saying like there's a big genre. Tubi is a really big outlet for a lot of black creators. Basically, the guy that runs it, or he doesn't anymore. I guess they just sold it, but he was saying he kind of just looked for like what were underserved communities, let's say, or genres of film, and like black movies specifically and anime were like two of the things that he cited as kind of being like, where's the streaming platform for these things? So he kind of just put as much of that stuff as he could, and so there's a lot of it, but I think again that it all gets like kind of lumped together, and I think that's a shame because there can be stuff that would have broader appeal than any random person might assume, and I think that this is one of those where it's like there's stuff for everyone. You don't have to be uncomfortable watching it.
Yes, Jordan Peele's kind of carved out that space of like uncompromisingly black movies that they just have broad appeal.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, roll the dice. I recommend everybody roll the dice. Don't be uncomfortable about it. It's funny.
Yeah, so I mean that's been like a cool aspect of the experiment. You know, it's just kind of like seeing that perception of who's on screen shift, whether it was intentional or not. And in this case, yeah, I'm rolling the dice. We keep saying the word fresh in regards to this movie. So yeah, if you want like a really quick, I think it's an hour and 39 minutes, funny, potentially scary. I only jumped at one part, which was funny because right before that I was thinking, man, I haven't jumped at a jump scare in a long time, including like Boogeyman and all that. And then as soon as I thought that, boom, it hit right away. So yeah, I would say that, yeah, if you like this style of movie, support it in theaters. 'Cause that way you will kind of like vote with your dollar, so to speak.
Dylan, you've been hella quiet, dog.
It's because I haven't watched the movie.
I know you didn't, but I know you.
Oh, okay.
I know you watched the next movie we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I'm going to make you tell them the plot after I tell them the credits. Elemental is a Pixar film. It's directed by Peter Sohn, who did the only movie I saw they did was The Good Dinosaur. The film is written by John Hoberg, Kat Lickle, and Brenda Sui. They've all done a lot of TV shows that I wasn't too familiar with. And Dylan, tell them what Elemental is about.
Elemental is a movie about. Elemental is a Pixar movie about a bunch of elements like water, fire, earth, clouds, which is wind, I suppose.
Gas.
Air.
Wind.
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going off
Fire.
of Avatar, The Last
Oh.
Airbender. Anyway, and the movie hard opens with the main character Ember's parents, who I believe are named Bernie
And the mom.
the mom. They just get to Elemental City, and you realize that they're the only fire people in the city. Everyone else is
What?
there, and they're like trying to find spots to live in, but no one will let them because they're fire.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And then they find an abandoned spot, start to live there. Then, guess what, Colin?
I'm listening.
They open up a fire spot. A
For all the fire
store.
people, because it's an underserved community.
Yes, and then they start the fire community in that area.
Yeah.
What's it called? The fire store?
I think it's called the Fireplace. But then what do they call it? Is it just Firetown? Like Chinatown? They just call it Firetown?
Yeah.
All right.
They're from Fireland.
Yes, originally.
Yeah.
They're from Fireland, and they speak Firish,
Yeah. They
in
speak
addition to
Irish.
standard elemental English.
Are you being for real?
I am being
There's a
fucking
shirt-
dead ass with you.
There's a shirt that says "Kiss Me, I'm Firish"
Yeah.
that they're selling,
Come on, Dylan, keep it going.
Okay.
and they have a daughter named Ember, who is the main character of the film, and she wants to work at the store, and the dad Bernie lets her, and she keeps making these jokes like, "Someday I'm gonna own the store," and dad's like, "Yep," and then at some point she loses her temper, ladies and gentlemen.
She's got a problem.
Yeah, she's got an anger problem, and we can all relate. Just get pissed off, and that's when I said to myself, "Oh, this is me. It is supposed to be me. This sucks." And because she cannot connect with any of the customers, she only loses her temper. Her family's level-headed. They're like, "Hey, you got to calm down," but
No.
she's the only one that gets angry.
They couldn't get Lewis Black from that one where there's emotions. What's that one called? Inside? Lewis Black plays the angry guy in Inside, right?
I don't know.
And he's fire?
He's red.
All right.
Anyway, it's her first day on the big job, the red dot sale that she has to run by herself.
Right.
Because her dad's like trying to retire and he's getting all old. And he's like, "All right, I'm going to go sleep in. You go ahead. You do this by yourself." She gets all pissed off like anyone else would. And she goes down to the attic to scream. Because
Basement.
in the basement. Because when she yells, she admits a lot of fire. And I guess she just explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. And then it turns on the water pressure, and all of a sudden water comes out. And by the way, people, if you guys don't know, water, if there's a lot of it, can take out fire. if There's a little bit of it.
So that's the whole thing, like moving through the town and stuff.
Yeah.
There's like tree people that could get burned up.
Yeah.
And then there's fire people that can get extinguished by the water people. I guess the wind people are kind of the only chill ones, right?
Yeah, but I guess their living situations would be so different than the fire or the.
They don't really
Yeah,
come
yeah,
in
yeah.
contact with them. Yeah.
And the water people can get evaporated.
Yeah, by the fire. So
But
the
more
fact
so-
that there's water in the basement is a big deal.
Yeah, I think the water is more of a danger to
This is
the fire
a
than the fire
movie.
to the water.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie. And then, like,
A $200 million movie.
Shut up. For real?
Pixar.
Oh, Pixar. Yeah, okay.
Not some fucking rinky-dink fucking guy in
Yeah.
a basement on a gateway. whatever computer.
Working
That's
they
the
on
have.
movie
the
I want to see.
Flash.
The Gateway movie. Yeah, making the Flash.
Yeah. Anyway, so the water pressure is coming, and she's like, "Shit." The
She
sales
says that it's crazy.
She
for a
says,
Pixar.
"Shit." Is
What
the first,
the fuck?
and then she's like trying to fix it. All of a sudden, the water stops, but the water boy, Wade Ripple, comes out, and he's like, "I don't know how I got here. I was in this thing, and now I got sucked into here." He's a city worker, ladies and gentlemen, and he's seeing everything, and he's like, "This isn't up to code anyway. I'm gonna have to close your store down. Sorry." And he's a big crybaby, so he's
Because the
crying.
pipes are all leaking, obviously.
Yeah, and they do mention that they shut off the water
Yeah.
in Firetown.
But something has gone wrong.
Yeah,
There shouldn't have been any.
any water in Firetown. And so she chases Wade, the secondary character, to his work. She's seeing Elemental City, and it seems like she hasn't been there in a while because she's all like,
She hasn't been there ever. That's our whole thing.
I thought she's been there, but
It's
hasn't
going to
been there
take
long
a
time."
miracle to get me over to the other side of the bridge.
No, she's like, it would take an act of God
Right.
to get me into the city. An act of God or an act of Claude?
They love wordplay in this movie.
Well, no, there's a little boy
Yeah.
who's a tree person.
And he has the hots, no pun intended, for the
God damn
fire
it.
lady.
The movie, I liked it a lot. Anyway, so chases him down, goes there. She's like, "Damn it."
The deal is if you can get the water shut off
Yes.
or figure out the source of the leak, then they can undo the citations against the store. So they have to find the source of the leak or the store gets shut down.
Her father dream dies.
Yes.
Then hijinks ensue. They're going out trying to figure out the problem. They're trying to get the Wade's boss, Mrs. Cloud, I forgot her name,
Gail.
Gail, to not shut down the shop. So they're going out finding the source of the leak, which is apparently a dam that got
Like,
Burst
broke.
open. Yeah.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
a ship goes by, it pours water, not sentient water like the water people, but just regular old water.
and it goes down, and then it hits Fire City.
you have to repair the dam.
Once they figure out the source of the problem, now they're off the hook of having the shop shut down. But here's the thing: she's a fire sign, he's a water sign. You know, their love is forbidden.
First, they have to find out how to work together.
Yes.
And then they fall in love while they're
Yes.
working together. But they can't be together because they're fire and water.
Yeah.
So what are they to do?
That's the question of the film, I suppose.
Yeah. Then they figured it out.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah. They figured everything out
Yep.
in like 20 minutes, it feels like.
I think these Pixar movies kind of pat themselves on the back for not having like villains, you know?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
you know, say the flaming hot Cheeto dust of Illumination, like they'll give you Death himself in Puss in Boots, you know?
Got it.
Pika and Lucas infused action of Super Mario will give you Bowser himself. But when it comes to the peanut allergen, gluten-free fun of Pixar, you don't get like a bad guy to beat. They just have to kind of
Overcome his
figure out some
situation, yeah.
things, grow as people.
You're wrong, dude. There's a villain in Toy Story 1
Well,
and Toy Story 2.
no, don't quote me as like
Oh, hold on.
zero
I-
Pixar movies.
Listeners, I'm breaking these two apart. They are actually throwing fists at each other. This
Both
is crazy.
Incredibles. Finding Nemo.
Who's the bad guy in Finding Nemo?
The swordfish
girl?
that
Oh.
eats the baby Nemos.
Oh,
Nemo.
in the very beginning.
And you want to call Australia
Well, what's the quote unquote bad guy in Turning Red?
her mom. The curse.
Is there a bad guy in Soul?
Uh,
The afterlife. Understandable.
Yeah. yeah.
Well, I don't know. Listen, I'm trying to not be a dickhead here, but I really thought that this watching every movie would kind of like make my heart grow a little bit, and I'd be able to enjoy these kind of movies, the Pixar movies. But this is like a lot of Pixar at once. You know, it's not like diluted. This is like pretty mainlined. Like there's things, and they have people characteristics, and they're from different worlds, and they're getting along with each other. Like it's a pretty on brand messaging, you know, and pacing and all that. And I was just like, man, I'm trying not to be a hater here because it is, you know, visually amazing, right? Like these movies are kind of supposed to be. I'm just really trying to appreciate them, but I'm a salty little hater or something. There's something about these movies that just does not work for me, and I want to be mature. I want to grow.
Is there a Pixar movie that you did enjoy?
I like that Turning Red movie from recent
Yeah.
times.
Is that Pixar?
Yeah, I think. If it's not, then I'm really not making a case for myself. No, I don't think I like those movies.
Yeah.
I've seen most of them. And this was like very Zootopia, which was, I also think, not Pixar. I liked Zootopia.
Zootopia was great.
Because it's like, a bunch of different walks of life living together in a city.
Yeah.
And we're bunny rabbits. We don't trust the foxes. They're carnivores. And this is like, we're fire people. We don't trust the water people. And then they learn to get along in the end. But Zootopia had like a bad guy, the little sheep girl. She was the bad one.
Those were more interesting characters when you're like describing the plot. It just sounds like all I'm picturing is like that skate company World Industries, how they're like Flame Boy and
yeah.
Drip Boy and stuff. I was like, this is funny.
They're a little more fleshed out than that, I guess. But it's all kind of similar beats. But maybe Zootopia is like fucking ancient history. Kids need new things, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to like pull myself out of this so I'm not like shitting on it so much because it's so depressing to hear old men complain about children's cartoons. Justine, you liked the movie.
I like this movie a lot.
Okay, thank you. Say some nice things.
I'm certainly not like a Pixar mark or anything. I'm not like, oh, Pixar, that means it's going to be good. I often find they can be boring. I don't think this movie was boring. It's amazing to look at. There were several times when I was like, this is what I wanted from The Little Mermaid. This is what I wanted from even like Ant-Man and The Flash. Like, look how creative this is.
Right.
You get to see this stuff. Of course, again, it looks amazing. It's colorful. It's vibrant. Like somebody cared about everything that went on screen. The city design, the buildings, the different little people that are all over the place and what they're doing. There's like a bunch of stuff where it feels like if you saw it again and again, like you'd just be able to watch like different parts that you weren't paying attention to before.
Right.
And
a lot
there
of
would
visual
still be-
gags, right?
Yeah, lots of it. Like because it like adds to like the liveliness of the city and stuff. I really like when you have to follow the rules of the universe you created.
Right.
Like so the different things that they do about like, oh, you have to be careful about water here if you're a fire person. I don't know if we said it or if we need to. These people are literally made out of water and fire and like gas and stuff. So like, you can't get rained on or you'll be put out. You have to like eat fuel to burn.
Right, to like regenerate your flame.
Yeah. So it's really clever. They have to stick to that the whole time. Like if you get wounded, you need to patch it with the appropriate thing or whatever. And she makes glass stuff because she's fire, so she like is able to just blow glass using her hands and her mouth. That becomes like a plot device where she's able to kind of pursue her own dreams, that she doesn't actually want to run the shop. She just is like felt so indebted to her parents working so hard. I think that's a lot more kind of along the lines of a Turning Red message or whatever you want to call it.
Intergenerational kind of.
I don't know what you might think of as a Pixar movie where it's like, this isn't really teaching like children about their emotions, but it is a more like mature message still for like young people maybe like, if you want to do something else, that's your life. And you never know, it might work out for the best if you just tell somebody, how you're actually feeling. It's not gonna shove this down your throat, feel good message Pixar complaint.
Yeah.
It's like, this is just something that happens in a movie. And I think that like a Zootopia, it doesn't have like a message or something. It's just a cartoon.
Well, it has, the idea of like, everyone's got to work together and not to be prejudiced is a big chunk of the dynamic. Like he hates water people, but then the water people save him and he learns that water people aren't that bad, which is not, it's not a bad thing.
Wait, is that in Zootopia?
Yeah, of course. They're like, those are carnivores. They're bad. And then the carnivores are good.
Okay.
The little bunny rabbit people are bringing their prejudices against the other animals to the table. And then the other animals show them that they're misjudging them. But this is a very common trope in these kind of movies. It's Aesop's fable-y kind of children's messages, But that is one element of it. And you're right, in this one there is this idea of, what path to follow, making your family happy versus going your own way, the consequences thereof. I guess is also kind of pretty common for in these kind of movies. It's not too dissimilar to, I guess, the Spider-Verse moral in a really weird way. Just to bring up a recent one. I was thinking
about that too, but there's other things too. It's also about the different elements not being afraid of each other.
Yeah.
About not being afraid to like try something new,
Sure.
about the immigrant status stuff, and it's about like still being able to hold on to your culture or whatever while still doing new things.
City bureaucracy,
Yeah.
underserving different communities in the
Yeah.
city.
is a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that it did a really good job of being like a watchable movie that had all these things. It's not super pushed down your throat. It's just showing you this is the things that they have to go through to
Right.
get this stuff done. I thought it was funny too.
Yeah. I think you reacted strongly to the cuteness of it.
It is cute.
I think you are poisoned by the cuteness.
No,
The cuteness got to you.
it is cute, but
The
I
cute
don't think
poisoning of cuteness.
I don't think it's the kind of cute that like is
It's effective cute. It's not just big eyes.
yeah, it's not that
cute.
kind of cute. It's not
Yeah.
like cutesy cute. It's cute because it's like, oh, that's
not
sweet
saccharine,
or whatever.
I guess.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. They're like trying to make each other cry. No, try to not cry. Like when you guys try to watch Family Guy.
The Family Guy challenge. Try not to laugh hysterically every 5 minutes. Impossible mode. You can't.
True. It is true. It's very fucking hard not to laugh.
Same thing.
Since you like the movie, can it wait for a big old TV, or should you go see it in a movie theater?
I think that this is one where I liked seeing it in a big theater because the animation is so nice. For sure, I was impressed by the city and by the water, funny enough, because that was when I was like really like, man, Little Mermaid makes me angry because I'm watching
Right.
this scene
If they
right
get water
now.
right, that goes a long way.
It's so weird because it's like, they do a good job and you can really appreciate it more, especially after seeing these other movies on a big screen.
Okay.
This is some pros,
Yeah.
doing their work.
I asked Colin if I should go see it in the movie theater, and he's like, depends if you like Pixar. I was
It's
like,
a-
dang, all right.
I felt this was a very, I felt this was a very like on the nose Pixar kind of
Okay.
movie, So it's like,
Disagree.
I very much so stand by my point that it's like, very, I don't know. It's very pretty with, in my estimate, not a lot of substance. I know it's silly to fucking talk about substance in a children's movie. Dylan, you saw it in a packed house of kids?
Yeah.
Oh,
They
wow.
fucking lost their minds?
Yeah. 2:00 in the
That
afternoon.
rules.
There you go. That's what matters. I think my grief, which I'm trying to let go, I hate the Pixar adult, and I have let it go in terms of, just blatantly hating this this company or this brand. I mean, again, I'm saying this after fucking jerking off to Marvel movies for fucking 2 hours.
Right.
So, fuck me and everything. I get it. But I just feel these movies are very shallow. And I think they are supposed to be shallow because they're for fucking kids.
Right.
And so, like, if I'm looking at it like a kid's movie, it's like, whatever, they're fucking entertained. Great. And yeah, there's good messages at the heart of these. And there's objectively more substance to these movies than Minions,
Yeah.
but not more than Taxi Driver or like a movie a fucking grown up could be watching, or like The Blackening or Hellraiser or just fucking movies,
That's an amazing pairing.
There's not more like, yeah, they're good kids movies or they're like, they're kids movies that you can have on and probably not pull your eyebrows out. Like if you're watching if your kids are really into the Minions and you're just always hearing like, yabba da gabba ba ba ba, or whatever the fuck they do. It's like, yes, I could totally see why Wall-E or Up would be far more pleasing as a parent to have on repeat and better than fucking Frozen, whatever, mass marketing drug those kind of movies are, like I get it as kids movies, phenomenal, top shelf. But I don't know. I just don't connect with them. You know what I'm saying? And
Why
so
are you acting like it's bad?
I just don't think they make movies that I like. And that's what I'm saying is my prejudice towards the film. When Brent's like, should I watch it? I'd say it's a very Pixar kind of movie. Like if you were to say, should I watch The Blackening? I'd say it's a slasher comedy. If you seem like you'd like a slasher comedy, I'd say you'd like this. And for this movie, I'd say if you like Pixar movies, it's that, And I think for me, as someone who generally dislikes these kind of movies, I disliked this movie. And I think it's not bad. It's just, oppressively bland. There's just no like grit for me to kind of sink my teeth into, and that's what the whole point is. They're very palatable. They're very smooth. They don't leave too much of an impact, and that's what they do. But that to me is a boring time out. And it's just, that's the whole way you have a brand, is being consistent. The Fast and Furious movies are pretty consistent, in their tone and how they deliver things. And I just got into those, and that tone works for me. So if you're like, would I like Fast X? I was like, do you like Fast and Furious movies? If you do, you'll probably like it. If you don't, you probably won't. And this, to me, seemed pretty on brand with what they normally do. It's all pretty slick and smooth and palatable, which is what it's supposed to be. But it's just that brand of slickness is just kind of bland to me. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for you as to like what's wrong with them or why I don't like them. I guess I just always kind of feel like I'm being manipulated.
Yeah, I think you're reviewing your feelings about past Pixar movies instead of
I'm
of
telling
this movie.
you, I'm trying to undo that and walk in and, clean slate. I didn't walk into, I don't know why I keep bringing this movie up, but I didn't walk into Puss in Boots like, these fucking Shrek movies, fuck them. It's like, what do you got for me?
You don't know the Shrek movies.
I know them enough.
You know they exist.
Yeah, I've seen.
I'm saying, like,
very funny.
again, I'm not like a Pixar person. I wouldn't have been able to tell you without thinking really hard and without you prompting me already that Toy Story movies were Pixar movies.
Right.
I only know like Up. I know for
Right.
sure, and then that Feelings movie
Yeah.
because I know it exists. Oh, and Wall-E
Yeah.
for like pulling at your heartstrings, kind of sad things,
Yes.
and that's where the people who are like crying about Pixar movies get their crying from. And I didn't get that at all from this movie. That's why it's like it's bright. It's
Yeah.
giving you like a nice message.
No, it's not
but it's, like,
melancholic by any means.
there's nothing about it that screams like Pixar movie to me. It just looks, it's just a cartoon to me, like a nice cartoon, good message. There's nothing evil. It's just a good time.
Well, I'd say it very closely follows the romantic comedy structure in terms of like a meet cute and stuff like that. And those are movies that are by nature emotionally manipulative and like kind
But
of.
they're not like sad. They're just cute.
Yeah, and I've come around to, enjoying those movies too. So I'm like, I'm ready to face this objectively, but I was bored out of my fucking mind watching this goddamn movie because it's just so I don't know, dull to me. Again, looks great. No one's arguing that. But I don't know, there's some element, if you will,
Got him.
missing here for me, and didn't connect with the jokes. I don't know. I didn't connect. I wanted to connect. I desperately wanted to connect. I'm trying to be objective here. The only reason I'm being so adamant about this isn't to shit on the movie, but just to kind of, I guess reinforce this idea that if you have similar distaste for these kind of films, like I have these distastes, and I was not swayed on this one as I have been by certain other outliers, like I would say Turning Red. But that's,
I'm willing to accept that a man with a demon tattooed on his kneecap isn't connecting with Pixar movies.
Well, I have a demon tattooed on my heart.
Yeah,
And
and
I like this movie a lot.
yeah, I'm not trying to take that from you. I just didn't see anything here that wasn't like, again, yeah, you're right. It's not as emotionally dull as like, I'm a robot and I'm alone in space. Have you ever been lonely? Aren't you connected? Aren't you just like this robot? He's so alone. Yeah, it's not that, but it is still like, if it wasn't CG and you just took the script and applied it as a romantic comedy, I don't think it's a great romantic comedy. And if you just make it like a world building kind of thing, I don't think the world building is that strong. You can't really say that it makes a whole lot of sense in terms of like, there's this bit about the X-Men where they're like, oh, this is like a civil rights analogy, because the mutants are outsiders and they're not being accepted. And this creator I like, he's like, it's not that, because these are dangerous creatures. Like, they got a guy who could fucking melt your brain by thinking about it. Like, no, there's like people concerned about, desegregation or just bigots. There's a reason to be concerned if someone has fucking metal bones and like can't be shot or taken down. Like it's
Yeah, I mean, I
it's not
like when people
analogous.
can kind of like after the fact, connect dots that may
Right.
not have been there in the creation of the narrative itself, like Planet of the Apes. You know what I mean? People all the time are just like, "This is the most important film about race relations." I'm like, when I was a kid, I did
Just wanted to see monkeys go crazy.
That didn't occur to me, and I still enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Point being, there's a reason the wood people wouldn't want to rent their house to the fire people.
Yeah,
It's not-
exactly.
I just
Totally.
think there's a handful of things that are meshed together here that make it unique for sure, because it's like you usually either get world building or you get romantic comedy or you get an animated film, but to see them all together, it's kind of like it's novel enough. But I don't think any one of those would stand on its own. It's sort of this shell game of like, look at how cool this is. Don't pay attention to that over there. Look at how cool this is over here. Don't pay attention to that over there. And like this kind of juggling that just never really connected with me. I'm only saying this because I'm pushed here. I don't want to take away from your enjoyment of it or anyone's enjoyment of
Nobody
it.
pushed you.
Well, you're picking. You're picking
No,
a little.
You talked for like 15
You're picking a
minutes
little.
about how
Actually,
much you hated it before
she
I
did
said
not
anything.
You're picking a little.
If she did, it was like a smidge.
That's okay.
The podcasts are for.
Yeah, I liked it.
Dylan, you're the tiebreaker.
Uh-oh.
What, did I like it?
Yeah, sure.
I enjoyed it. I didn't care. Like, it was like visually pleasing to watch. The story is like, it's fine. Like, I'm sure it didn't have me in mind, but like hearing the reactions of children, like 30 plus kids, kind of just like yelling at it.
What was the energy of the yelling? Were they just stoked?
Oh, like all positive.
That's awesome.
That or like they're all like calling it out. Like the only one I can really remember is like, oh, they're gonna kiss.
Oh, it's like predicting.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Not like calling it out. Like this sucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say
More
just
like predicting what's gonna happen.
Pixar caters to the lowest common denominator. Just like,
No,
dude,
no,
you're
no.
8.
Yeah, it was, and then like family's not doing shit about it because there's every kid there.
You
It's
take your kid to see
They
a
take
movie
your
like
kid with a
this
bunch
is
of
like
kids, yeah.
at like
space
2
out.
p.m. like in the afternoon on a
Yeah,
Saturday,
yeah.
whatever. Like, I'm not gonna complain. Like,
That
be like,
rules.
hey, shut your kid up, bro. I'm trying to fucking watch Elements. But no, I mean, like everything about it was fine. Like I never at one point was looking at my phone for the time as much as I was just looking at my phone just to text Colin about it. And not hateful either. It was more like just telling him my experience.
Kids are running wild.
Yeah, the kids are going crazy. I am about 1 out of the 5 adults without children here. The 30 kids with the 1 or 2 parents. But
Damn, that's a good turnout.
yeah, it was crazy because I
That
walked in, I
rules.
was like, shit, we're late. But yeah, I liked the film. I didn't hate it. Again, not for me and mine, but
Yeah,
if children like it, I'm sure they're doing
that's the
something
point, right? Yeah.
I wonder how well that haunted mansion movie is going to do. Because when I walked in, and I haven't seen this in so long, and like it reminded me of when I was a child. I walked in during that preview, and I had to walk through the front, like in front of everyone. I looked up to find our seat, but I just see like a family of 4, kid, mom, dad, kid. But the mom kid combo, the mom was like covering the girl's eyes, and the girl was like scared. She was really young. And I was like, shit, dude. I don't know what happened in the trailer. But I'm just watching that. I'm like, I wonder if kids are going to watch The Haunted Mansion.
I think there is a place for every generation for a movie that's just a little bit too far,
Yeah.
I can remember watching Ghostbusters 2 in the theater as a child, and like when that spooky old lady comes by in the carriage, the ghost lady,
Yeah.
I covered my eyes. I'm not too proud to admit it. I was not built for this hard world, this
Yeah.
soft soul
That
underneath it all.
time.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
you're
was
like, what the fuck are ghosts in there?
yeah, no,
I don't know what the hell. Yeah.
I was scared. Those movies scared me. I covered my eyes. And you'll always hear people talk about like one movie or another being like, yo, what was Watership Down? What was that? There's maybe Haunted Mansion is going to be this generation's like, yeah, that movie messed me up.
I'm cool with that.
You know what's messed up? When the Eddie Murphy one came out,
Ghost Balls.
I get to watch another Haunted Mansion movie.
Yeah.
I was freaked out at that one, I'll admit, because I was in the 4th grade. But then when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Elemental, is this Fuego Flames, or are we dousing this one out? I guess dousing doesn't work because it's water. We'll go with it. I'm a hater. I'm dousing. It's fine if you don't like these. Again, I'm not. Well done movie. A well done
stick with
movie.
it. Stick
A
with
well
it.
done movie for a specific audience of which I'm not a member of. If you're a member of it, you'll like it. And obviously, this works for some people. So go forth. Hey, water or fire? What is that? That's steam, baby. I'm steaming.
They did do that in the movie.
Yeah.
This movie is fire and water
Oh.
and earth
Oh.
and air.
And they all have a place equally.
And they are trying to get along.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was good. I think it might not appeal to a certain group of people. I think it's more likely to appeal to people who, it's fine. And like you were saying, like it was this and that in a shell game. I disagree. I do think that it was all of those things at the same time, and I think that's why it worked so well.
They work together in harmony.
As does Elements.
Yes.
Mhm. And you need them all.
Well, do you need them all?
Yeah.
Okay. Fire to cook, water to drink.
Yeah. Air to breathe, plants to eat.
Oh, I guess plants also to eat and for air.
Yeah.
I don't know how the ground types work or what exactly constitutes ground.
Yeah, but they like water.
Yeah. And
That-
air, you would think.
Yeah.
But fire is still the dickhead in this equation.
Well, no, because that little Claude had a crush on
Yeah.
Ember. And he's a little tree guy, a rock or whatever.
Yeah.
What is he? Is he a tree?
Little tree guy
Yeah, he's
or a
like
rock
a piece
or
of
whatever.
dirt or something.
Yeah.
Dirt.
His name is Claude. He's a
Piece
I
of
know,
dirt.
but I couldn't tell by the design.
Yeah.
I kind of
He looks like a tree.
I'm remembering it as a rock. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'll give it Fire Flames. Go ahead and watch it. You'll see it.
We'll see you at the movie.
Yeah.
we're damn near 6 months into this year.
This year, yeah.
End of March, we had our first quarter tier list, and we're teasing it out. Next episode, we got another tier list. I'm gonna read you a list of every movie we watched in theaters this week.
You're gonna do it?
I'm gonna do it. This is every movie we've seen this year. This isn't necessarily all these are going to be in the tier list. The tier list is going to be about half of these movies that we're going to rank. So listen to our last tier list episode from late March for this. So up to this point, we have had 65, 80 for Brady, A Good Person, A Man Called Otto, About My Father, Air, Amazing Maurice, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Are You There, God, ? It's Me, Margaret, Beau is Afraid, Big George Foreman, Blackberry, Black Demon, Blackening, Boogeyman, Book Club, The Next Chapter, Broker, Carmen, Champions, Chevalier, Cocaine Bear, Consecration, Creed 3, The Devil Conspiracy, Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, Elemental, Emily, Ennisman, Evil Dead Rise, Fast X, The Flash, Fool's Paradise, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, House Party, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, Hypnotic, Infinity Pool, Inside, Jesus Revolution, John Wick 4, Kandahar, Knights of the Zodiac, Knock on the Cabin, The Little Mermaid, Living, The Lost King, Love Again, The Machine, Mafia Mama, The Magic Flute, Magic Mike's Last Dance, Marlowe, Maybe I Do, Megan, Missing, Moving On, My Bloody Valentine, Doesn't Count, Nefarious, Of an Age, 1001, Operation Fortune, Rudigar, Paint, Plane, Polite Society, The Pope's Exorcist, Rally Road Racers, Renfield, Return of the Jedi, also doesn't count, Sanctuary, Scream 6, Shazam 2, She Came from the Woods, Shin Ultraman, Sisu, Skinamarink, Somewhere in Queens, Southern Gospel, Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, Spinning Gold, Super Mario Brothers movie, Sweetwater, Transformers, Rise of Beasts, Wedding Hustler, and You Hurt My Feelings. This has been a wild ride, folks.
I counted 85 movies
and
there.
We're halfway through. We went on and on here. Dylan,
Yes.
next week we have our tier list. But what about movies?
Unlimited.
Why don't you tell the people what we got up next?
Hey kids, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited. We got a special one for you. No hard feelings. Jennifer Lawrence and friends take over the screen again with this raunchy comedy. I don't know if it's raunchy, but I'm excited nonetheless. Might be the only movie we watch for this week, but we might have some sneaky ones pop up. Anyway, kids, see you at the movies next week. Bye!